Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Awaken his sacred gear early and become the Emperor of Domination Part 3. Before we start, please go support Lady Crizzle for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Chapter 14. Among Us, Issei. A voice from behind him said his name softly. He was an hour and a half early till classes will be dismissed. He pretty much ditched his last class just to be alone for a while. And he didn't notice someone close to him have seen him walking to the old school building. He went inside for a change of pace. Sitting on the couch with his arms crossed and eyes closed, he answered, "Yes, Akeno-san. Maybe it's time I tell you," she said while taking a seat beside him. "Tell me what?" Her tone of voice piqued his curiosity and faced her. "Do you hate all fallen angels?" The question caught him off guard. He thought hard of it. He formulated his answer carefully because he might hurt her if he answers immediately. "Yes, I do hate fallen angels. They have caused unfortunate events in my life, but not all of them." His words gave her confidence to tell him the truth about her. She began to undress a little, taking her top off. "Well, what are you doing, Akeno-san?" He quickly turned around, blood rushing to his head. Once her top was off, she used it to cover her chest and brought out her wings. Black feathers froze beautifully on the ground. It didn't surprise him to see her with a devil and fallen angel wing. He already knew the first time they met. My birth was the result of the union between Barakiel, a leader of the fallen angels, and a human. My mother lived in a shrine somewhere. She found Barakiel wounded and helped him. I was the result of their encounter. Then I met Rias and became a devil, in hopes of getting rid of this wing. Akeno-san. She finally faced him properly and asked, "What do you think of such monstrosity?" He stood up and didn't feel any embarrassment while seeing her half naked. "Like I've said, I do hate some of them, but knowing you're also one doesn't mean I'll hate you too. I like you, Akeno-san, you'll always be my caring senpai." She flung herself to him. It made him stagger a little by the force of their bodies colliding, but he soon regained his footing. "Oh, Issei. No matter who you are, you'll always be the same person I've always known." They didn't move for a while and stayed in their position. "Issei, would you please call me Akeno from now on?" She whispered in his ear. I can't just call my senpai by her first name. It's getting hot," he thought. "Then just when it's just the two of us, would you please call me by my first name?" She pleaded in a seductive manner to him. "Oh, okay." When he agreed, she happily pressed herself against his body. "Thank you, Issei. Akeno, I think we should get back to class. What if somebody sees us?" He compassed himself and pulled away from her. Then the doors suddenly burst open, revealing a serious president of the occult research club. "Why are you in such a hurry, Issei?" "Boo-boo, but I can explain." She looked at him darkly and left. Issei quickly followed after he excused himself, and when she stopped in her tracks, he readied himself. "Hey, Issei." "Why yes. Akeno will always be Akeno, won't she? Even if we call her vice president she's still Akeno, right? How about me? You're President Rias." "That's right, I'm president, but am I not Rias, too?" "You're my master, Rias Gremory-sama, and I'm your servant," he said with a sad smile. She didn't say anything else and walked away. Issei didn't follow after her this time, knowing she needed some time alone, and so does he. "I'm so close to you but you're so far away." It hurt so much she shut her eyes as a lone tear fell. Issei went to where he usually stay, outside the building, and sat on the ground as he leans on the sturdy tree. "Hey, Issei-kun." Kiba greeted him. "Kiba? What are you doing here? Classes aren't over yet. Our last teacher let us out early, then I saw you with the president." "You heard, huh? Omen, I didn't mean to intrude." "It's fine." He dismissed the worry of his friend. Silence fell on them for a short moment before Kiba decided to break it and ask something. "Why didn't you tell her how you feel?" "I can't. You two have been so close ever since the beginning, right? So why not? You two have even kissed," Kiba asked again. "It's because I have no right to stand beside her. The only thing I can do for now is to support her by the sideline. I got in too deep to even stop myself from succumbing to the temptation." "Is it because she's a high-class devil?" "Yes, and I'm not in any position to be more than a servant. I know I'm hurting her, but it also pains me." He avoided Kiba's knowing gaze. It upsets him to be in such a position that he can't make his move. He can't right now. "I'm sure everything will work out for the two of you, just don't give up." "Thanks, Kiba." They fist bumped and just stayed there until it's time they go back to the clubroom. When they got back, Gasper is in a box with Kaneko beside him, a lot of snacks on the table in front of them. "Gasper, Kaneko will be staying with you, be a good boy, okay?" She gave him a head pat as he nods his head. Issei went to his cowhide and handed a game console he can use to pass the time. "Thank you, Issei-senpai." They all hurriedly went to the designated room for the conference. Rias knocked on the door and came in after hearing a consent. "This is my sister and her peerage Surziches," introduced the newcomers to the leaders of the factions. "They did very well in their recent battle with Kakabiel." "Thank you very much, we appreciate your efforts." Archangel Michael thanked them. His two guards also bowed. "Sorry about that, my guy got a little out of control," Azazel said, referring to Vali. "All of the representatives are here, let's begin the conference." Rias told them their report and Sona testified for her. "I'd like to hear the leader of the fallen angels' opinion on Rias' report," Surziches said. "There is nothing much to say, Kakabiel acted on his own accord. He's locked up in an ice prison in the depths of hell for eternity, he won't be coming back. Our concern here is Kakabiel's motives, he said he's not satisfied with your decisions. Michael spoke up. Yes, he was pretty mad when we pulled out of the war when we were on a roll. I've got no interest in war, anyway, Azazel said in a matter-of-fact tone. He was an unstable individual, then Serafal said. Yeah, and enough small talk, let's sign the peace treaty already. While the conference is ongoing, a bunch of magicians barged inside the club room and attacked Kaneko and Gasper. We're on the same level as what you call mid-class devils, it's in your best interest to cooperate with us and hand over the vampire. Kaneko grabbed the box Gasper is in and punched a hole through another wall and made a run for it. They were stopped a few times, but they managed to go to Gasper's room safely. We can buy some time while staying here. Their time there didn't last long when a magician appeared in the ceiling and sneaked an attack while Kaneko was facing Gasper. Both were dragged off somewhere else, they sealed Gasper's sacred gear and binded them to a magic circle. Back to the conference. This standoff we're in is nothing but bad news for this world. The ones who started the war, God and the Satans are gone, after all. At the mention of God being gone by Azazel, Asia couldn't believe it and almost fainted, while Irina and Zenobia just looked down, since it's nothing new to them. That's why we have two guys here, who, although not part of the standoff, have the power to change the world. The White and Red Dragon Emperor, I would like your input in this. Azazel turned to Vali, who just shrugged his shoulders. I just want strong guys to fight. And you don't need war for that, how about you, Sekirute? I want peace, I'm only going to use my powers for Rias-sama and my friends, that's absolute, Issei stated while grinning from ear to ear. I see where you're going at, Azazel said, confusing everyone. You want peace so no one can disturb you from making love with Rias Gremory, he slyly stated. How could you? Rias profusely blushed and so did Issei. You perverted, Azazel. Issei was about to give the fallen a piece of his mind when Rias stepped in and held onto his arm, effectively stopping him from taking another step. You all see that? Issei is so whipped for the princess. Stop teasing them, Azazel. Miyamoto and her future husband might explode from embarrassment. Surziches also joined, receiving a glare from Grafia for being immature at a time like this. Despite this, he just laughed it off along with everyone else except for Rias and Issei. Then suddenly time stopped. Issei and I weren't affected because we had our dragons while those guys have their swords, Vali said with a bored expression. We weren't affected because of our immense power, Serafal said, and went to Sona. It's a good thing Rias was holding on to Issei that prevented her from being affected. The massive group of magicians caught their attention. I take it they forced a half-vampire's ability into balance breaker state. We have to do something about that half-vampire. Rias stepped up. I left an unused rook at the old building. Gasper is part of my peerage. I will take him back personally. Rias planned to use castling, the special move that can switch the king and rook's position in one turn. We can't send you alone, though. Surziches looked at her worriedly. Surziches came to a conclusion and lent her his power to send one more person. I'll go with her, I'll protect Butchu. Then I wish you luck. When they were about to go, Azazel handed Issei a bracelet to keep Gasper's power under control. I'm counting on you to protect Rias, Issei-kun. Issei just saluted in response to Surziches and disappeared, replaced by an unused rook. Hey Vali, why don't you screw up with our friends outside? They ought to panic when they see the hacker Yuiku. Vali smirked and teleported outside using his wings for flight. Balance break vanishing dragon. Issei used his nose and tracked the half-vampire down. Gasper, but you, Issei-senpai, you're all better with me dead. I'm coward and useless, he yelled out his frustration. Don't be silly, when I made you part of my peerage I said that I will never abandon you. What the president said made him cry in happiness. But you. The magicians all held a short sword and pointed it at Kaneko and Gasper. You should have brainwashed this monster and made him into your tool. I'm sorry but I care about my servants. Shut up you bitch, you're a devil. Quit playing the innocent. Issei shielded her from an attack. Gasper, cause me all the trouble you want, but time and time again, I'll scold you and console you. I'll never let you go. Don't run away Gasper, we're all here for you, we'll never abandon you, but remember that you're a Gremory. Issei extended his right hand as scales appears and his eyes changing. In an instant, the magicians burned into nothingness. He freed Kaneko and Gasper and used one of the swords to cut his wrist, placing it in front of Gasper. The smell shook his entire being. He licked his lips and couldn't resist the temptation in front of him and sucked the blood flowing. After he was done, he slowly stood up and his aura changed. Let them back up came and started attacking them. Gasper told Issei that he'll handle them and he changed form. Many bats surrounded the magicians and shadows, restricted their movements and sucked their powers. They all soon fell unconscious. Gasper transformed back and received the bracelet from Issei. Wear this so you can keep them under control. He accepted gratefully and made their way out of the building. When they got back, they saw Azazel high in the air with Kateria Leviathan. What are you trying to achieve, Kateria? To do exactly what this conference ought to do. Since God and the Satans are gone, this world will be ready for revolution. I thought this was a big coup by the devils, but you are after the whole world, are you? Indeed, and we are going to rebuild this rotting world. The SHH, like I've never heard that before, whoever says that always dies first. He outright insulted Kateria. How dare you? While the two are fighting, the gate of the magicians closed because of Gasper managing to control his powers. All they have to do now is clean up the leftovers. Kateria, let's quit playing around, shall we? Azazel took out his artificial sacred gear that he made by himself. Balance break armor of the fallen dragon, downfall dragon. Kateria stretched her arms and wrapped it around Azazel and started to prepare a self-destruction. If it means I can kill the leader of one of the three great factions, I don't mind throwing my life away. He was able to pry her off and shot her with a large beam of light that consumed her entire being. They were all able to finish the remaining magicians easily, then all of a sudden, the white dragon attacked a leader of the three great factions. What are you doing, Vali? We're here to make peace. Forgive me, Azazel. This side seems more interesting. Azazel's governor, Shemhazai, noticed a group of rebels from the three great factions banding together with their leader. You're part of Cow's brigade, aren't you? And your leader is the Ouroboros dragon, Office. It can't be. The leaders looked at Vali. Indeed, I am working with Office, but neither of us wants to rule the world. Really? I thought you sided with them because you wanted to become a Satan. Vali smirked and removed his armor and showed 4 pairs of devil wings. Out of all the host of the White Dragon Emperor, he is without a doubt the most powerful, Seraphol stated, making Surziches and Michael nod their heads. With the power of a Satan and a dragon, I am the mightiest being of all. Meanwhile, Issei was merely a human, pitiful. Vali was able to host the white dragon since his mother is human and was born as the direct descendant of Lucifer. He activated his armor again, showing off his wide aura. If a man like me will slaughter your human parents, you will ought to face me seriously. Issei didn't respond for a moment and his eyes were covered by his hair. What have my parents' lives got to do with your goddamn plans? Eyes turned black with red slits and bared his sharp teeth. Rias, get away from Issei, Surziches bellowed. She did what she was told in an instant. Welsh dragon balance breaker fire engulfed him as he activated his scale mail armor. He flew into the air in a blink of an eye and fired a dragon shot at Vali, who have its power. They took their battle higher in the air. The only thing the spectators can see is a blur of red and white. Boost 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 boost. Issei grabbed Vali and began transferring the power accumulated, trying to put excessive load in his system as to make his body give in. Vali, we're going into overdrive. It's best if we back off and regain our footing, Albion said. They were too late. Vali's body couldn't handle it and his body gave in. Impressive. You blew my sacred gear apart, you're truly my rival. It didn't take long when he once again activated his scale mail. Their battle won't end that easily unless one of them can't stand anymore. That's how dragons fight. Let's make this more interesting. The white one charged towards Issei's friends and he was 1 second away from hitting one of them. Issei managed to shield them using his body and was thrown to the side, cracking his helmet. Issei deactivated his armor and threw his shirt away and was left half naked. His raging aura and power have exceeded his limits. The other half of his body covered in his scale mail while the other is covered in thick scales. His body also grew in size. It looks like he is only wearing his normal scale mail from afar, but if you look closely, you'll notice the large difference. I'll show him who's superior, Vali thought. I, who am about to awaken, am the heavenly dragon who has taken the principles of supremacy from God. I envy the infinite and I pursue the dream. I shall become the white dragon of supremacy, and I shall take you to the limits of white paradise. He recited the chant to the Juggernaut Drive. The armor possesses claw-like growths on the hands and feet, as well as horns and a fanged mouth on the helmet. They charged at one another. Their auras alone destroyed the barrier and the school's buildings. The others teleported away from the battlefield and casted barriers on the whole town. But Issei's smaller frame than Vali, he's able to move quicker and countered every attack. Their battle was short-lived when Vali stopped and deactivated the Juggernaut Drive, so did Issei with his half-dragon mode. If activated too long, he might go berserk, and Issei understood that. Then someone came to get Vali. Iku? They want you back. We're gonna fight the Norse mythology up north. I see this may be the only time he wanted to skip the fight with the Norse and go back to fighting his eternal rival. They're nowhere near the end of their battle. Issei recognized the man. He's Son Goku, a descendant of the victorious fighting Buddha. Nice to meet you, Sekirute. I'm Biku. Likewise. Biku thrust his magic stick, causing a black magic circle to appear below them. Our next battle shall be even fiercer and thus even stronger. Hyoudou Issei. He couldn't agree more to that. Chapter 15. Nico sisters. Their last class for the day went smooth with minutes for free time, and so the rooms filled with loud chatter. Issei banged his head on his table, earning a lot of concerned looks from his classmates. Issei? When they asked him what's wrong, he said he's just tired and bored, which they believed and told him to go easy with the table, continuing their not-so-normal life till summer vacation rolls in. After the Great Leaders Conference, Zenobia joined them as Rias' other knight and became his classmate, and it has been more chaotic than ever, especially helping Gasper with his fear took a toll on him. Flashback, why are you here? Issei yelled across the room. I'm here as the new knight of Gremory family. I didn't expect her to willingly join my peerage, Rias said in disbelief. After hearing that God was dead from another member of the church. In sheer desperation, I begged to be reborn, Zenobia explained as she sat down beside Asia, who fidgeted in her seat. Zenobia noticed it and turned to Asia and apologized for what happened in the past. Rias smiled seeing them getting along. Alright, now that we have a new member, let's get back to our club activities. Yes, but you. And once they heard the sound of the bell rang, they took their things and met up with Kiba on the way to their clubroom. You got anything to do this summer? Issei asked the blonde knight. Oh, right. This is your first time, we usually go to the underworld with Butchu. When they went inside, they were greeted by their president, motioning for them to take a seat. Glad that everyone is here, she said and took a sip on her tea. Since it's almost summer break, I'm going home. So pack for a long trip. The former servant of God setting foot in the realm of devils. I didn't expect this, Zenobia stated as she crossed her arms. 3 days have passed and now they're inside a train, everyone's busy with either talking to someone or eating food. It surprised to say that Kaneko is simply staring out the window with a troubled look. We will soon be arriving at the Gremory Estate. The Gremory Estate is about the size of Honshu, Japan's largest island. Then the train abruptly stopped, making some of them fall. There's an emergency stop, I'll go and check it. Issei immediately went to Ria's side. I'll go too, Butchu. When the two were gone, the others resumed what they were doing earlier, and the next thing they knew, they were falling from the sky. Where are we? They landed at the rocky part of the mountain. Where's Butchu and Issei senpai? Gasper panicked. They didn't have time to think about them when they heard a very loud roar and the ground shaking at every step of a dragon coming their way. The dragon inhales and gathers fire in his mouth and releases it, creating a large ball of fire. They barely evaded the attack and quickly got up on their feet. Akeno transformed into her Maiko attire. But the president missing, I am in command. Hyoudou-kun, Zenobia-chan, draw the dragon's attention. Kaneko-chan, Gasper-kun, provide support. Asia-chan, stand by. Roger, Vice President, they said simultaneously. Hiba and Zenobia summoned their swords and attacked the dragon. The fight wasn't going too well with their swords being repelled. I'm a man, too. Gasper was able to stop the dragon in time, giving Kaneko a chance to strike, but she was slammed down by its tail when he moved after a second. Kaneko-chan, I am too weak, Gasper cried out and went beside her, along with Asia. Akeno finally finished powering up and sent multiple lightning strikes, but it wasn't effective. When it was going to attack again, they prepared themselves, to their surprise when it stopped by Azazel's voice. The Fallen appeared alongside with Issei and Rias. This is Tanin-sensei, he used to be one of the Dragon Kings. Issei introduced. Long time no see, Dragon Brat. Hey, he was about to say something back when Rias gave him a pointed look that effectively shut him up. Azazel snickered. I came here at Surzich's Dono's request. Don't forget that this is a favor, Governor. The said person just shrugged his shoulders. I'm sorry for tricking you all, I was against this, but Ani-sama insisted. Rias, your constant babying and hesitation is what's keeping them from growing truly strong. I've never hesitated, she said, but a voice from the back of her head says otherwise. I wanted to see how well they could handle a surprise attack, now I know exactly how to train you all. Only a fallen angel would come up with such a plan, came Akeno's bitter response. I'd do anything to make you guys stronger, I am your new sensei, after all. Before going to the Gremory household, they cleaned themselves. When they got there they were greeted by Graphia at the front door. Welcome home, Milady and her peerage. She opened the door for them, several maids, and butler formed a line on both sides. Rias Nasama welcome home. A boy with crimson hair came running towards them and hugged her. I'm home, Milikas. You've grown so big since I last saw you. She moved her gaze to her peerage. Everyone, this is Milikas, Ani-sama's son. The boy turned to them with a polite smile. When the boy found Issei's face, his smile almost reached his eyes. Issei Nai-sama, he threw himself towards Issei. Good to see you too. He ruffled the boy's head. The others wondered when did the two meet. Rias. A woman's soft voice called. I'm glad you look well. She embraced her daughter. She introduced herself as Ria's mother, named Venelana Gremory. When it was time for dinner, every Gremory's present except for Surzich's. You must be Hyoudou Issei, San Venelana said. Hi. You don't have to be nervous, I just want to thank you for what you did for my daughter. My husband learned a valuable lesson. Never pick a fiancé without considering your daughter's feelings, she smirked. Akasama, Xiaotika's fake cough to get their attention. By the way, Issei-kun. From now on, you may address me as father, if that is okay with you. Issei profusely blushed by what the older devil said to him. Watching Issei made Rias think that he might pass out if this continues. Darling, you are far too hasty. There is an order that must be followed, his wife said. She looked at her daughter's reaction through her peripheral vision, and it didn't disappoint her. Goodness Akasama Otu-sama, she stood up and hastily left the dining room. Her peerage sweat dropped, seeing that their president's parents did this on purpose. After their dinner, everyone gathered in Issei's room, excluding Rias, Akeno and Kaneko. All of them felt uncomfortable in their own room, so they decided to play some games or just talk to pass the time. In the middle of their discussion about Kaneko's weird behavior earlier, their president barged in. "What are you doing here?" she asked. We felt uncomfortable in our rooms, so we decided to stay together tonight," Zenobia replied. Lucky for me, Rias thought. She actually wanted to tell them Kaneko's situation. She went to Issei's room to start with him and didn't expect the others to be also present, making things easier for her. "I want to tell you all a story. It might be beneficial if you all know." Everyone turned silent. A long time ago, there were two Nakamata sisters. After losing their parents and home, the two always stayed together. Relying on one another, they lived as best they could. One day, both cats were picked up by a devil. Eventually, the older one became part of that devil's peerage, which got her back on her feet. But by turning into a devil, her hidden power was unleashed at once. Unable to control her power, she killed her master and disappeared. She became a dangerous stray that could annihilate an entire pursuit force. Worried that she would go berserk like her older sister, the devils tried disposing the younger one. And someone found her and took her in, teaching her to smile, the meaning of life, and gave her a new name. At this point, every one of them knew where this is going and absorbed the new information. "It's getting late, let's all head to bed now," Rias said. Asia, Zenobia, Kiba and Gasper all settled on the massive bed. "What about you, Issei-senpai?" "But you." "I'm not tired yet, maybe I'll take a walk or something," Issei said. "I will be going back to my room." What she said was a lie. They nodded in understanding. The four devils lying on Issei's bed soon fell asleep, while Issei went for a midnight stroll with the president. "Issei." She tugged on the hem of his shirt. "Yes, but you?" "I have a request of you," saying this with her head hung low while playing with her fingers. "Anything for you, Milady," he playfully said while doing a curtsy. She lightly slapped his arm. "Stop it, Mew, here I am getting all nervous and you're not even taking me seriously." Rias puffed her cheeks with her arms crossed, making her look like a chipmunk. The sight made Issei let out an awe, making Rias hit his arm repeatedly. Okay. I'll be serious," he said. Rias took a deep breath. "Helma first you never were alone," she said in one go. But you, can you repeat that one more time?" "I said call me by my first name whenever we're alone." He didn't respond for a moment. I don't think it's right for me to call my master so casually by her first name." "But you said you'd do anything." That caught him off guard again. The way she looked right now reminded him of the first time they talked about this. He frowned at the thought. "Only if we're alone, right? Then your wish is my command." He paused and took her right hand and kissed the back of it. He looked straight into her beautiful eyes. Rias. His gesture made her heart skip a beat. Hearing her name coming out of his mouth made her extremely happy. "Well, let's go back." She walked ahead of him, flustered by what had transpired between the two of them in the middle of the night. Issei caught up to her and took her hand in his, interlocking their fingers together, surprising her greatly. "It's dark and you might slip here, isn't?" She didn't say anything back and just enjoyed the moment. When they were close to their rooms, Issei unclasped their fingers and was about to bid her goodnight when Rias pulled him towards her room. "The others might be sleeping by now, we shouldn't disturb their rest." Issei saw her point there. They both lied on the bed with a fair distance between them, their backs facing each other, and both not really ready to sleep yet with all the awkwardness. After minutes of just lying down, Issei was the first one to fall asleep, and when Rias felt it, she scooched over towards his side. He unconsciously moved his body, so now he's facing her. Rias couldn't help but blush and moves closer as she presses herself onto Issei, and he instinctively wrapped his arms around her. She closed her eyes and dozed off. The next morning, Azazel took the liberty of waking them all up in an annoying way by getting an air horn. Not before taking a picture of Issei and Rias cuddled up together. "Rise and shine," he exclaimed happily in every room occupied by his students he went to, laughing inwardly with how some of them reacted. Issei begrudgingly did his morning routine before going to the dining hall to eat with everyone. "Well, someone's grumpy early in the morning," Azazel says whilst taking a bite. "And whose fault is that?" "Sorry," he said and turned to Issei and spoke once more. "Not sorry." What another grumpy Sekiryute thought. After eating, Ria's peerage gathered in front of the Grimoire household. "All right, time to get serious. I created a training regimen worth a whole month of human world days." Azazel began with Kiba, telling him to hone his balance breaker and maintain it for as long as possible. Next is Zenobia. Her goal is to use the sheer power of will to tame the holy sword Durandal completely. Both Knights of Grimory were assigned someone to help them. Azazel is a fallen have mischief running in his veins. He set up Akeno to train with her father, which she is obviously not fond of. Asia was told that the twilight healing depends on the user's ability. If she can release the aura from her entire body, then she should be able to heal someone from great distances. Hineko was given a training regimen that will help further in her combat skills and speed. Azazel also gave her a piece of advice that troubled her mind more. Release the power you have sealed within yourself. If you're unable to accept yourself, you will not be able to develop your skills as you wish, he said. That in itself told her that he knows what she is. As for Gasper, Azazel assigned Issei to help him, much to Issei's dismay. Helping him get out of his shell completely in a month is not enough to get over your fear, but as long as there is progress, that's what matters to the fallen. And lastly, Rias went to the library to improve her strategies and decision-making skills as a king. To improve her utilization of her peerage to its fullest. Issei helped Gasper get used to people and his powers, and even with the vampires overall. Look, you want to be man, right? Yes, Issei senpai. That's the spirit, let's go. I know just the thing we should do first. The first thing to do in their list is to give him a haircut. Issei dragged his cowhide to Grafia. Is there anything I can do? She asked politely. There is, can you help us cut Gasper's hair? Certainly. It didn't take long to get Gasper's haircut to be done. Whoa, he seems happy seeing his new look. In Issei's opinion, he looks somewhat like Kiba. You look good, Gasper. He gave a thumbs up then turned to Grafia. Thanks for the help, Grafia-san. He thanked her as Gasper followed suit. It's nothing, I'm happy to be of help. She bowed and watched them leave the room. Next in their list is Gasper's clothes. They both went to a clothing store and got a bunch of them. When they got home, Issei dragged Gasper to his room and helped him pick clothes and his style. The next morning, everyone almost didn't recognize the vampire. You look so handsome, Gasper, Asia exclaimed, and so did the other girls. Every member in Ria's peerage went to get ready for another conference with many Satan-class devils and various clans, except for Kaneko. She overdid the training given to her, and just before the day of the conference, she caught a fever. Rias didn't want to leave her, but she has to attend with the others, so she left her familiar to watch over Kaneko. Rias went to the gathering wearing a red backless dress with her hair tied in a ponytail. Akeno as the queen wore a traditional kimono while the others wore their Kuo Academy uniform. Ah, but you? Her one and only pawn came to her after mingling with other young devils like her. Yes, Issei. He scratched his head and looked away with a pink hue plastered on his cheeks. Is it really necessary for you to wear that dress? He asked. I am her servant and should not be concerned with what she wears, it's her decision. It just bothers me with people ogling her, he thought, trying to convince himself. Is there something wrong with it or do I look bad? Her brows furrowed in confusion. Issei waved his hands in front of him in a defensive manner and saying no repeatedly. You see it's a bit revealing, he said in a whisper. She didn't hear what he said, which made her more confused. What? I didn't hear you. She came closer. He felt even more flustered and just took off his blazer, putting it over her shoulders. I say. Some guys were looking at you in a disrespectful way and it's kinda bothering me. He said the last part with an unsure look. Rias didn't make any act of removing it. She took a step closer to Issei and brought her face near his ears and whispered. Arigato, she said the word slowly and kissed his left cheek before leaving. Fiba noticed Issei standing still and went up to him, seeing the moment between the two happen. You okay? You look red. Issei snapped out of it and nodded his head. Why yeah, I'm fine. They went back with the others, chatting along the way. Michael Dono should arrive soon, Surziches stated, conversing with the fallen angel governor. And according to Barakiel, the head of security, Odin should be on his way. Barakiel is guarding him. Just in case, there are many Norse gods who do not want their chief god Odin's alliance with the devils. It seems there are always people like that in every group, and the problem is that Cow's brigade is recruiting those people. Surziches nodded in reply. A few minutes has passed by when an old man with a long beard accompanied by a beautiful young woman with long, straight silver hair and aqua-colored eyes, and with Barakiel. It's been a while, you old, northern countryside piece of SHT, Azazel greeted the newcomer. It's been a long time too, you cheeky fallen angel. Nice to see you again, Odin Dono, god of the north. The god moved his gaze towards the crimson-haired Satan. Surziches, I am here in accordance with your invitation. And when it was time for Seraphol to greet him, he made a comment about her wearing such a drab outfit that doesn't suit a beautiful lady. That's not bad. He smiled at her with a hand on his beard when she changed into her magical girl outfit. The woman beside him frowned. Please remember why you're here, Odin Sama, you represent all of Valhalla. Goodness, you're always so serious. that's why you can't get a boyfriend. She quickly denied it. That's not true, in fact, I'm actually seeing someone. She made such an excuse that there's someone, yet she doesn't even know the name of the guy she met a couple of months ago. No need to lie, he chuckled. She decided to let it go and returned to her professional look. This is Roswis-chan, she's very talented, but too serious to get a boyfriend. In the middle of Auden's teasing to a flustered Roswis, Archangel Michael came with Irina as his bodyguard. Auden, oh no, I'm glad to see you in good health. While they're all still discussing about Cow's brigade, Rias received a message from her familiar, telling her that someone broke into the Gremory household, specifically in Kaneko's room. Her peerage noticed her discomfort. She told them that she will be going back home and wants them to stay. But we can't just let you go there alone, at least take Issei with you. The mentioned pawn nodded in agreement, then realization dawned on him because of what Akeno said. Fine, Issei, let's go, there's not much time to waste. Issei used his dragon wings for flight and carried Ria's bridal style. They made it back and went directly to Kaneko's room through the balcony. Kaneko, a young woman with a voluptuous figure, long black hair with split bangs, hazel gold eyes with cat-like pupils, a pair of black cat ears and two black tails, wearing a black kimono, a yellow obi, with a set of golden beads, and an ornately detailed headband. Who are you and what are you doing here? The Nekomata glared at them while pulling Kaneko protectively to her. Kuroka, Kaneko is part of my peerage, I won't let you lay a finger on her. My, what are you saying? She's my Yamato, and I'm not going to give her to a high-class devil like you. Kuroka caresses her sister's head, making Kaneko purr quietly. I'm taking her with me. Just when they were about to teleport, Kaneko pulled away. I am part of Rias-sama's peerage. Shirin, I won't leave you the second time around. I'm sorry. She embraced her older sister once more before going to Rias and Issei's side. She gritted her teeth in frustration. She's running out of time. I know you hate me for what I did before, but don't make this any harder for the both us. She made multiple illusions of herself, confusing them to which is the real one, and sent Senjutsu aura bullets to Issei's direction. Issei blocked the attack and was about to make a move when Kuroka disappeared and reappeared in front of him, and combined both of her Senjutsu and Yujutsu to her physical attacks. Issei quickly activated his balance breaker to avoid major damage, and sent his own bullets of dragon shots. Oi, time's up, Kuroka. Biku appeared between them. Not now, Biku. Hey, don't complain, I'm the one always fetching people, doing the plan on time, and I hardly get to fight, he said, thinking about how Vali and Kuroka always ended up hugging more people than him. We still have to do phase 2. TSK, fine, she clicked her tongue and turned to Kaneko. I'll come back for you, Shirin. She flashed her Yamato a smile and then left with Son Goku. Back at the conference, Auden successfully signed the Pact Monument. Everybody celebrated to a new beginning as allies, but a certain someone isn't so happy about it. Meanwhile, Kaneko's fever reoccurred, and this time, Rias refused to go and so did Issei, making the others worry why they haven't come back yet. Chapter 16. Dragon of Domination. Summer break ended a couple of weeks after the conference, and they're all back to school. And one afternoon, when Rias and her peerage got home, they were greeted by a Valkyrie crying. How terrible, even though I worked hard for Auden-sama, Roswis cries loudly, wrapping her arms around a pillow. There, Roswis-an, I'm sure Auden-sama will come for you eventually. Akeno comforted her. And I'm sure young women and bars consumed his thoughts and doesn't care about me anymore. After she was given chocolate, she finally calmed down. Auden's intention of leaving her with Rias is for her own good. The Norse god saw her interact with Kiba and the others who were left at the venue of the ceremony. He thought of this as an opportunity to let her meet new people, have someone to lean onto, and to possibly have a boyfriend. After they ate dinner, Rias told Asia to come with her. Asia, is there something bothering you? You can tell me. The blonde wasn't so sure if she should tell the president her problem, but she eventually gave in after much consideration. There is, but what is it? Someone from the conference talked to me, he kept giving me letters and gifts every single day, and I don't know what to do. And who is this devil? Diodora Astareth. Rias gasped in complete surprise. Diodora Astareth, the heir of the powerful Astareth family. I'm surprised you know him, he is said to always be in the Astareth estate only. He told me that he was the one I healed using my sacred gear in the past before I was exiled. She looked down as she reminisces the sad memories. Maybe he was just excited to finally meet the girl that saved him. That sounds just like Diodora with his sheltered upbringing, Rias replied. What am I going to do with the letters and gifts? It has been bothering me for a while now. Well, Asia, we'll dispose them so you don't have to worry about it anymore. Oh, thank you, but her bright smile came back to her face. It's no problem, I'll help you later. Rias patted her head and let her leave her room. Days later, Roswis decided to become a servant of Rias as her other rook, seeing as there are many benefits in becoming a devil, and applied at Kuo Academy as a teacher in civics. The tournament already started. Yes, Sarah won against Zephyr, the former heir to Glaciolabola's clan. Rias showed them the whole match. They saw how Sarah completely destroyed Zephyr's will to fight with only his strength. So this is the power of the number one amongst young devils, Zenobia commented. He's currently the crowd favorite to win. I have a feeling we'll be facing him. The thought of facing her cousin made the crimson-haired feel excited and nervous at the same time. For our first match, our opponent will be Diodora Asterisk. Having to fight Asia's suitor and stalker is just a plain coincidence. In the middle of their discussion about the rating game, a green magic circle with the asterisk symbol appeared. Good day everyone. I am Diodora Asterisk. And what do I owe the pleasure of meeting you here in my territory, Diodora-san? Rias moved to the couch, and her peerage made way for their unexpected visitor. Allow me to get straight to the point. He glanced towards Asia. I would like to trade bishops. You desire to take Asia, I presume? He returned his attention to Rias and showed her holographic images of his two bishops. You're quick on the uptake, it'll be a reasonable trade. She cut him off and said, sorry but I have no interest of trading a valuable member of my peerage. I also think of her as my little sister. Hearing their president's reason made Asia extremely happy. Think about it, both of my bishops are strong and useful. There. I'm sorry but please stop, I already said no. Trying to have the woman you like through a trade. Rias let out a heavy sigh. Do you even know how to court someone? Diodora didn't seem to be fazed and just stood up from his seat. I understand, I will return for now, but I'm not giving up. He kneeled in front of Asia and placed a super expensive ring on her finger. I don't. Asia's brain starts malfunctioning at the moment and couldn't form a proper sentence. Our reunion and meeting were fate. Even if everything in this world gets in our way, I will not let those stop me. I love you, Asia. Just when his lips were about to make contact on the back of her hand, Issei pushed him away. Diodora calmly looked at Issei. Do not touch me, he said. And don't touch her either. Why don't we settle this over the rating game? Maybe after I win, Asia will accept my love for her. There's no way I'd lose to someone like you, Diodora Asterisk. Diodora just chuckled as if what Issei said was some kind of joke and left afterwards. Roswis woke up in the middle of the night, suddenly feeling thirsty, and after drinking water, she went back to her room. The room's light were off, then a cold breeze passed by her. That's when she realized that the door to the balcony is open. I'm sure I locked it earlier, she thought, still so sleepy and tired. Roswis. A deep familiar voice called her. She rubbed her eyes awake and cautiously looked around the room. No need to be so weary, I'm not here to cause trouble. The unknown person swiftly came closer to her, placing a hand on her chin and raised her head to meet his eyes. Who are you? She didn't know why she stuttered, but something about this guy felt different. You forgot about me already? She squinted her eyes and examined his whole face, then she directed her attention towards the look in his eyes. Why, you're that guy I met months ago. That's right, and I realized after we parted that I haven't given my name to you. The name's Vali. The moonlight shone, illuminating Vali's features that made her blush. They're both of the same age, his dark somewhat grayish-white hair sways with the wind, and his hazel eyes have the spark in them. Wearing a dark green V-neck shirt with a high-collared black leather jacket over it, black jeans with a silver chain drooping down over them and black leather shoes. Why did you come here, Vali-san? No need for honorifics, and as for the reason why I came here, I wanted to see you. What he said made her blush deepen and her eyes widen in disbelief. Why, you're kidding me, right? He leaned forward, invading more of her personal space. She backed away from him till she has nowhere else to go when her back hit the wall. She closed her eyes, waiting for something to happen. Vali chuckled softly as he held her hand. I'm not kidding, I find you exceptionally interesting and beautiful, he said and left her staring where he exited. Because of his surprise visit, Roswis didn't get any sleep, constantly thinking about Vali and why his name sounded familiar. The day of their raiding game is in a week's time. Issei decided to train every other night, whenever he doesn't have any requests in their training room in the third basement floor. And just the day before the game, Issei had a nightmare. Just when the raiding game was about to meet its end, Diodora did something no one expected. A great deal of devils appeared all of a sudden and ganged up on them. He suddenly felt weak and helpless, then he saw a devil behind Asia. He tried shouting for her to look behind her, but no words came out of his mouth. He was too far away to protect her, and then, it happened. Her blood spilled on the slightly mucky ground. Issei-san. That was the last thing he heard her say before she collapsed. He sank to his knees, staring into space and his whole body unmoving. It was all a blur to him, so much for all the hours of training. His remaining comrades' voices echoed inside his head, asking for his help as they also fell on the ground, then he felt his body shake involuntarily. The familiar voice called out to him, it was a woman's voice, telling him to wake up. Issei, his eyes snapped open and saw Rias with teary eyes staring at him. He sat upright and brushed her tears away. Why are you crying? He asked without even noticing that he cried in his sleep. You idiot, she didn't answer him and just pulled him into an embrace. It was typical for Issei to think of others before himself even though he's in pain, and it made Rias upset. Did something happen? he asked again. You were having a nightmare crying out in pain, and you muttered Asia's name. Then it all came rushing back to him, he remembered every single detail in his unpleasant dream. He told her what happened and it made her being tense and rigid. Asia told me that she's happy with this life, but are you blaming yourself for dragging her into this world? You shouldn't. With you, me and everyone else, we can be sure to make her happy. He nodded his head as they laid both of their bodies on the mattress while still in each other's arms. Thank you, Rias, he said with a voice full of sincerity. Everyone prepared themselves and transported to the battlefield. How strange, there's no announcement from the referee, Rias noted. Thousands of devils appeared, bearing the crest of the devils loyal to the old Satan faction in the Cows Brigade. The despicable fake Satan family, Gremory. We shall eliminate you here, a devil terrorist said. Try not to die, filthy Gremory devils. Diodora smirked and casted a spell, effectively taking Asia in his arms and rendered her unconscious. What is the meaning of this, Diodora? Rias yelled as her whole demeanor changes. You're going to be murdered here by Cows Brigade, and if you do survive, meet me there. He pointed to the temple high in the sky and flew away. Everyone focus on the enemies surrounding us first, then we'll save Asia, Rias ordered. Yes, but you. They were about to make their move when the Norse god Odin decided to enter into the fray. Odin-sama. What are you doing here? We discovered that Diodora Astaroth was making backroom deals with Cows Brigade. Leave them to me. He flashed them a confident smile and shooed them away. Hurry up and go. This old man will hold the front lines for you. You should count yourselves lucky. But we can't just let you fight all alone. Odin hit Roswis's head when she protested. You are 1,000 years too young to worry about me. He summoned his weapon, Gunnar, and took out a large number of devils in one fell swoop. The amazing Odin-sama, we'll take you up on your offer. They bowed and left Odin to fend for himself in the front lines. Then Azazel contacted them. It isn't only the battlefield that is under attack, the VIP room is also surrounded. Due to the plan, I couldn't tell you all as to not compromise the mission. Do what you have to do, we'll take care of the terrorists. We will go and save Asia, and I have to teach him how foolish it is to take someone from my peerage. Leave this to your sensei, go rampage your hearts out. But that he ended the call. They climb up the long stairs going to the first temple where they were greeted by Diodora and his peerage with no Asia. I've been expecting you, Rias Gremory and her peerage. Now it's time to start the game. Aim, you say? Unfortunately, the raiding game has been called off, thanks to you. That's why we're playing a different game, and if you don't cooperate, Asia will be mine. He snapped his fingers as a cue for his peerage to divide themselves. The game will consist of 2 concurrent battles. On the right, I'll have my 2 rooks and 8 pawns, and on the left, I'll have my queen, 2 knights and 2 bishops. You may group your pieces any way you'd like and will be transported to the field. Above the temple they're in now are 2 identical temples where the battle will commence. Rias didn't seem like she have any other choice and complied. Issei, Kaneko, Zenobia and Kiba will go to the right, and the rest will go to the left. Now, let's begin. In the right temple, their hooded opponents appeared. The pawns promoted themselves to queen. Zenobia and I will deal with the rooks, Kiba said. Alright, let's blow this popsicle stand. Issei charges at them, laying down traps whenever he touches the floor. Kaneko grows a pair of white cat ears and a pair of matching white tails, and her eye pupils became more cat-like. She covers herself in an aura of Kai and sends aura blasts. The pawns were quick to dodge, not knowing that Kaneko was trying to lure them at certain spots. Meanwhile, Zenobia and Kiba aren't having a hard time, since their movements are quicker due to the night piece, and was able to take out the 2 rooks with their holy swords. When the pawns are all in place, they suddenly couldn't move. Issei encased them and ice and snapped his fingers, causing a sequence of semi-violent outbursts. Rias and the rest saw the explosions and didn't want to get outdone, even though that sounded silly in their heads. Gasper fished out a vial filled with Issei's blood and took a sip and activates his power, successfully stopping the queen, bishops and knights. Akeno discharges holy lightning, combining it with Ria's power of destruction, taking out the queen and the bishop. Roswis generated several magic circles and bombards the remaining pieces with elemental magic. And just like that, the battle was over. Their powers are on a different level, Issei exclaimed. Yeah, and I didn't know Roswis is that powerful. Her magic is that of a high-class devil, Kiba said in awe. Everyone gathered and checked anyone with any injury. When they all seemed to be fine, they ran up to the massive temple from the very top. I'm surprised you all have made it here, Diodora said while sitting on a throne with Asia held captive above him. They all gasped with how she looks, her entire body's full of cuts, her clothes all tattered and covered in blood. Diodora Issei roared out. I got bored waiting for you, Sekiryu. And let me tell you something good. He gave them a wicked grin. All of the girls you defeated in my peerage were all once nuns from various lands. My dear Asia caught my attention, so pure and was so treasured by the church that I had to devise a plan just to have her. After that, she got excommunicated and I was supposed to help her physically and emotionally and then give her an evil peace, but I was too late. What did you say? Rias couldn't believe that he planned her to be kicked out, and this fallen angel killed her. Then Gremory showed up and snatched her up. You should have seen the look on her face when I told her the truth. It was absolutely priceless. He laughed maniacally, fueling the anger within Issei, red scales appearing on his face, and activates his boosted gear. I will never tire of seeing the moment when a woman of the church sinks into despair, but that's not enough. I want to destroy any remaining glimmer of hope by killing all of. He didn't finish his sentence when Issei punched him across the face and then threw him on the floor. You're nothing, I am a high-class devil, part of the bloodline of Beelzebub, a Satan. Issei shut him up again with another punch and was about to go for another when Diodora concentrated the power he got from office and shot it to Issei at such a close distance. The smoke from the explosion cleared, revealing Issei with no major damage. I will not lose to a rotten dragon like you. He created a wall of barrier with the use of his borrowed power once more. My demonic power is much more stronger. The stupid Sekiryu cannot defeat me with just raw power. Then do you want to see that stupid raw power? The 2 jewels of the boosted gear starts to glow a bright green color. Boost, 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 boost. Issei used his wings and flames to propel himself and used his increased power, concentrating it on his right fist. He punched the barrier with so much force and broke it into tiny specks. How dare you hurt Asia? He sent Diodora flying to the ceiling. I am possible, I can't be defeated. Diodora slowly stands up, leaning against a pillar, using it to support himself. The magic circle appeared in front of him, and he was at the point of firing a light-based beam, but Issei was able to stop him and almost hit him with a dragon shot. Issei approached Diodora and grabbed him by the collar, raising him up in the air. Don't come near Asia ever again. The next time I see you, I'll eliminate you without mercy, he said and dropped the fallen king on the floor. Issei quickly went to Asia and tried to free her, but his efforts were rendered useless. Roswisan, can you place a protective seal on her? He asked. The Valkyrie nodded in response. What are you going to do, Issei? I'm going to try something. His reply made them nervous a little. They pushed the unnecessary emotion away and put their trust in him. Both of his hands ignited in Drake's flames, then something unexpected happened. Asia was enveloped in a golden light and vanished without a single trace. Asia, they cried out. Enough playing around. I am the descendant of the original Beelzebub. Shalba Beelzebub. A young man with long brown hair, wearing all black appeared. Shalba. Rias glared at him. Nice to see you too, fake Satan's little sister, he mocked. Diodora crawled towards Shalba. Shalba, lend me your hand. The descendant of the Satan killed him without even batting an eyelash, because Diodora is useless to him now. Killing you all at the same time will be boring, no fun in that. I'll kill every one of you one at a time. Evasia back. Zenobia screamed and summoned Durandal. It's useless, her attempt of attacking was in vain. She was thrown across the floor. Her not so good landing resulted in dislocating her left shoulder. She winced in pain, trying to get up using her sword. Then Akeno and Kaneko rushed to her and pulled her towards everyone else. Rias was pondering carefully on what they can do to get out of here alive. With everyone in her peerage that's mentally unstable right now makes things extremely hard. But Issei turned to her with his eyes conveying no emotion. Asia isn't here, we have to find her. She cupped his face with her hand. The side in front of her is slowly breaking her heart. Before Rias can say anything, she heard a sudden sharp blast. Kiba, she heard the others shout out. Rias turned to Kiba's direction and saw him sprawled on the floor, a huge wound on his chest. Listen here, you red piece of trash, Shalba smirked. Take a good look on your blonde friend over there. He pointed at Kiba, who's losing a lot of blood. Rias and the others managed to stop the bleeding, but Kiba will die if no immediate treatment is given. Both of Issei's hand trembles in anger, his eyes repetitively changing from a green to black with red slits. His boosted gear materialized on his left arm. Rias Gremory, Drake-san, if you don't want to die, leave this place immediately. She was reluctant to leave Issei, but she thought of the others and as to not put Kiba and Zenobia in a much worse state than necessary. Issei's aura and power screams danger. He transformed in his scale mail. The fragments of the past hosts of the boosted gear whom died because of the Juggernaut Drive is urging Issei to transform. I, who am about to awaken, am the heavenly dragon who has stolen the principles of domination from God. I laugh at the infinite and I grieve at the dream. I shall become the red dragon of domination, and I shall sink you to the depths of the crimson purgatory. Juggernaut Drive. Juggernaut Drive appears very similar to the scale mail armor with a much more dragon-like appearance. It takes a more gigantic form. The armor possesses claw-like growths on the hands and feet, as well as horns and a fanged mouth on the helmet. Issei roared loudly. Its aura alone destroyed the temple. The thought of Asia being dead and the sight of Kiba looking so lifeless while lying on the cold floor made him lose his sanity at the moment. Don't FCK with me, take my light judgment. An infinity symbol appeared on Shalba's palm. Divide, 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 divide. Shalba gasped in bewilderment when his attack was reduced to nothing. Divine dividing. Shalba wasn't the only one surprised with Issei using the divine dividing. In fact, Rias and her peerage were the same. Previously, during Issei and Vali's last battle, there was a moment when Vali's scale mail armor blew up into pieces, and Issei secretly took a piece of Albion's jewel. Boost, 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 boost. Issei froze Shalba on his spot. So this is the dragon of domination. The descendant of Beelzebub let out a melancholic laugh. The chest armor of the scale mail slides open and fires a powerful shot. Long-ina smasher. Energy beam of immense destructive power completely obliterated Shalba. Issei wasn't satisfied and continued wreaking havoc, destroying anything in his way. Vali and his team went to the dimensional gap to find Great Red. Oh, what's this? Vali felt the Red Dragon Emperor's change. What are you talking about? Bhikkhu asked. Change of plans, we're going to the underworld. They were about to make a turn when they saw a familiar devil, unconscious and floating around the dimensional gap. Is standing by and watching all we can do? Rias asked while providing a protective barrier around them, and as the hope to help Issei slowly diminishes. Kiba's wound healed a little bit with the help of Kaneko's use of her Kai, providing a healing aura. She also helped Zenobia ease the pain on her shoulder and popped it back in place. As I thought, it's the Juggernaut Drive. Vali appeared out of the blue. What are you doing here, Vali? I came here to simply observe, since I sensed the change in Issei. Roswis gazed at him, she was perplexed by Vali. Vali noticed her staring and mouthed that he'll explain everything and provided information. Looks like he had an incomplete transformation, there's a chance he'll change back, and a chance that he'll use his entire life force and eyes. A man with light blonde hair came behind Vali while holding Asia. Zenobia didn't waste any time and came to her friend. Asia, we happened to come across her while we were moving through the dimensional gap. Asia was lucky to be found, or else she would have been exposed to the void of the gap and might result to her dying. Then if we tell Issei that Asia and Kiba are fine now, maybe he'll change back to normal. Rias took out her wings. Simply approaching him will kill you. I won't stop you, though. Vali's last statement caused him to receive a glare from the Valkyrie. She's scary when Maddie thought and avoided eye contact. Rias ignored him and went anyway, even though she herself knows the risk. Please save Issei senpai and Butchu. Please help us, Hacker Yuiku. They pleaded, for he has the power. He took one glance towards Issei and then activated his sacred gear and chanted the words to go into Juggernaut Drive. An eye for an eye, a dragon for a dragon. Issei saw him, he flapped his wings and lunged for Vali. They fought high in the sky, only the bright colors of white and red were seen due to their great speed. Vali was able to bring Issei down and divided his attempt in firing a long-ina smasher. Issei got up and bellowed in agony. The rest is up to you, Rias Gremory. Rias tried going near him, but he swatted her away. She groaned when her back hit a huge boulder. Issei, don't you recognize me? He flapped his wings aggressively and attacked Rias. The others were about to go and lend her a hand when Vali stopped them. Please look at me. He grabbed her and stopped for a moment. A violin's piercing and beautiful music sets his mind and heart into the deepest symphonies. Inside in his mind, images of his friends came flashing by, and there was this scene where Rias was looking out the window as she smiles at him. It brought a comforting feeling inside him. The warmth in his heart burns with bliss and contentment. Issei, there's no meaning to my life if you aren't with me. If you won't come back to me, then I'd rather disappear, she exclaimed as her tears cascades down freely. The tears touched his armor-covered hand. Rias, Issei's armor shattered like glass. He flutters his eyes open and was greeted by the crimson-haired's face while adorning a smile. Rias, welcome back, Issei. I'm home, he said, showing her a tired toothy grin, and then passed out from sheer exhaustion. Chapter 17. Abyssal depths. Issei yawned quietly, he flipped his pillow to the cold side and burrowed himself in the warm, soft sheets. The visitors turned to one another in disbelief because of what just happened, immediately coming closer to the still sleeping dragon. Issei-kun. Kiba pulled the covers and shakes him gently. Leave me alone, I wanna sleep. Get out of bed, you've been sleeping for the past 4 days. What Kiba said successfully woke him up. He sat upright and looked around. 4 days? Where are we? Where's Butchu and Asia? What exactly happened? And you're not injured anymore, are you? He fired the questions that popped in his head as he turned to the blonde knight. Don't worry, I'm fine now. Tibo, along with Gasper, Zenobia, Kaneko and Roswis, explained to him the events that followed after his rampage. They told him that Ravel came to their location and helped calm him down by playing music. The moment he returned back to normal and passed out, they immediately went to the Gremory household and treated everyone who's injured. Where are the others? Issei asked as he stretches, causing his bones to let out cracking sounds. Butchu is currently in a meeting while Akeno and Asia went to ask the maid something. They soon left to give Issei some privacy for him to get ready. It took him half an hour before he went to the kitchen to eat. I knew you'd go here, Tiba said, gesturing for Issei to sit with him. Yeah, I'm starving. Soon their club mates joined them, excluding Rias. The maids placed several dishes on the table. Aida Akamasu. In the middle of their meal, Issei noticed the large plate of food Kiba has. After some time, Kiba became aware of Issei's gaze a few times. What? He asked, taking another bite. Oh, it's nothing serious, it's just that I'm surprised to see you eat so many. I haven't eaten anything all day, you know. And I guess you're rubbing off on me, Tiba said, showing a rueful smile. fully aware of how contagious his friend can be. Don't make it sound like it's a bad thing. Issei protested and glared at Kiba and playfully punched him. The meeting Rias joined about the discussion of the old Satan faction, as well as the Chaos Brigade, and Office's plans to kill Great Red in the dimensional gap, has overwhelmed her immensely from the information she needed to absorb and keep in mind. It was already late and as soon as the meeting ended, she immediately went to her room to take a much-needed shower, then went to Issei's room to check on him, but she was greatly surprised not seeing him there. Issei, she called, running around then going to the bathroom. Rias went out of the room and took a double back to make sure no one's in the room. She started walking around to find anybody and then bumped into some of the maids walking by. These at the back garden, Rias saw one maid said and bowed. Rias thanked them and hurriedly went to the said location to only be stopped by the sight. When she saw him standing, gazing out at the night sky, he slowly turned around and met her now teary eyes. Rias, she ran towards him, wrapping her arms around. He did the same while gently caressing her crimson hair. I panicked when I didn't see you in your room. She murmured softly, I'm sorry. The feeling of him back with her, their body pressed together, as the silence between them grows and was peaceful in a way where they feel at home. Roswis repetitively walked back and forth in her room, impatiently waiting for a certain someone who has the audacity to make her wait. Then was slightly taken back when she suddenly couldn't see anything. Took you long enough, she said, removing the hand that obscured her vision. She wasn't surprised that he managed to sneak up on her while wearing a smug look. I'm here, aren't I? Let's go. The White Dragon Emperor pulled her close to him and activated his wings. You ready? He asked with a smirk. Of course, it's not like this is my first time. They went out through the open balcony and took flight to have their nightly date. Flashback. When the battle was over, Rias and her peerage returned to the Gremory household. At night, Roswis went out to meet up with Vali. The moment she saw him, she slapped him hard. If you're messing with me then I'll do worse than just slap you. Vali just stayed quiet, not sure where to start. Aren't you going to explain why you didn't tell me? I'm sorry I kept my identity from you and for lying. Is this part of getting back at Issei-san? Because you two are rivals. So you wanted to use me, is that it? I hate you, I really hate you. I'm so dumb for not noticing and not knowing who's the hacker Yuku, she thought. She was about to go when he held her hand. I know that apologizing won't make you forgive me, but please, just hear me out. She didn't say anything and waited for him to continue. I didn't tell you because I was scared that you'll leave me. Me? Scared? I didn't know the day will come. He thought. I don't want to ruin what we have even though I don't have any interest in living long and felt regret being born in this age. But then I met you, my heart pounds heavily whenever I'm with you. It was too good to be true. Vali spoke sincerely, completely out of character. She have never seen him like this before. Roswis felt her cheeks burning and her throat ran dry. She couldn't utter a single word, and her mind is in the brink of combusting. She knows that whatever negative emotion she's feeling wouldn't last long, because he's someone who became a part of her life she deeply cares for. Roswis, he wasn't able to continue when she pulled away and averted her eyes anywhere else except his indescribable gaze. I'll only forgive you if you take me on a date, and don't you ever lie to me again. He was still able to hear her words even if she whispered under her breath. Vali hugged her out of pure happiness. When he realized what he did, he faked a cough and turned away. Why, you won't regret it. I better not. She mumbled. Who would have known that their unexpected encounter would lead to this? Variety of booths lined up around the campus of Kuo Academy. Students of different years and visitors from outside came to have a look. Each homeroom class put up a booth or a sort of event to show their creativity, along with the clubs. Every member just finished wearing their costume, confident in attracting people to the old school building. They decorated the entire building to look like a haunted house and even invited real ghosts and other creatures to give a scare to those who will come. And also the area around the building looks spooky, surrounded by a thin layer of fog, and the sky has this reddish hue. And of course, they made up some believable excuse on how they pulled such special effect. I can't believe we got away from Kaichu's radar. Zenobia commented, sitting on the couch with food in hand. Now, let's not get our hopes up of completely getting away from her and focus on the task at hand. Rias said while gazing out the window. Students that are mostly guys came and immediately falls into a line to wait for the opening of the club and to get a glimpse of their members. Obviously most of them are here for Rias and Akeno. Oh my, we haven't opened and yet there are a lot of students here. Akeno stood beside her president. Good thing we came early. Only a few visitors managed to go through the whole thing, while the others used the emergency exits prepared, and a number of students passed out because of the jump scares. By the end of the day, they started to pack things up, and some of them toured around the school to enjoy the open booths. Then the student council president and secretary were walking around and decided to check the club that became the talk of every student at some point of the day. What brings you here, Sona? Rias asked with Akeno and Roswis besides her. Just checking your club. She turned towards the haunted house, not taking her eyes off of it. As you can see, there is nothing wrong or out of the ordinary here. The council president gave Rias a sharp look, the latter's face screams nothing but mischief. Don't do this again, Rias. Don't do what? Continuing to feign innocence. You already know. Sona took a deep breath to calm herself down and having a hand on her forehead. Nothing happened, Sona. Don't talk like it's over, you never know what'll happen if you jinx it. Both talking about the supernatural creatures Rias should not even have inside the building. Issei appeared out of nowhere with Kiba and went to Saji. Hey Saji, why is Kaichu so grumpy? Looking at the student council president, seemingly surprised by her unusual foul mood. Saji quickly covered his mouth not wanting to be scolded again. Quiet down, Issei, Saji silently hissed, and I don't know, she's been like that since morning. Issei thought for a moment before saying, oh I know, it's the time of the month for her. That caught the two blondes off guard and turned to him incredulously. How do you even know that? Issei simply pointed to his nose as a response. That's disgusting, dude. It's not my fault my nose is sensitive, I mean it is because of my decision, but what I'm trying to say is, this is Drake's fault. Way to go blaming me, partner. The dragon retorted, then he began arguing with Issei, making the bystanders sweat drop. I let you off the hook this time, don't do this again. Sona motioned for Saji that it's time to leave. The student council prepared a concert, surprising the student body with the famous guest performers. Making their last day of the cultural festival more crowded and lively than the previous. Issei placed a free hand on his chest where his heart is, as it beats erratically, his stomach churns uncomfortably, and feels like someone stabbed him. What is wrong with me today? He thought. He shook his head and tried to ignore the feeling while being dragged around the campus by Asia. After helping out in their club, he was supposed to relax and sleep in the infirmary till break is over, but his blonde female friend wanted to go look around with him. He couldn't say no and ended up doing every single thing Asia wanted to try. It was fun, happy to see the girl enjoying herself and making memories. Issei-san, is it okay if we don't go to our class's booth? Yeah, they wouldn't mind, Issei replied, not bothering to think about it any further. Considering they already did their part anyway. The moment they came back to the old school building, Issei immediately came to where the crimson-haired is at the moment while Asia went to the bathroom. No one else was inside the room besides Kaneko sleeping soundly on the couch with Gasper beside her while in a box. Rias looked up from the paper she's holding, a sigh escaped her lips, then smiled when she realized Issei's the one who came out of nowhere. Issei was about to go to her side when Rias beat him to it. He grabbed her wrist gently and placed an arm around her waist, pulling her to him, and stroked her crimson hair lovingly. It caught her by surprise, but nonetheless wrapped her arms around his waist and buried her face on his chest. I missed you. We literally saw each other earlier, dummy. She giggled and responded after with an I missed you too. The abnormal beating of his heart starts to slow down and his hand ceased its shaking. The silence became deafening for her, clearly not used to the faithful pawn being silent. Is there something wrong? It's nothing, he said, unsure. During the middle of the night, he felt the uneasiness coursing through him when he didn't feel Rias beside him. He contemplated if he should go and find her, thinking that she would be back any minute now didn't save him from feeling worried. It took Issei a while before he came to a decision. He swallowed hard, stepping a foot out of the room, looking from the left then right. Seeing not one soul nearby, he closed his eyes and concentrated using his senses. Hearing footsteps in the kitchen, he quickly went there. Still feeling drowsy, he tried to steady himself to not bump into anything or fall down and create a ruckus. The moment he arrived to his destination, he saw Rias holding a glass of water. She might have noticed the stares and turned. What are you doing up, Issei? I was just thirsty like you are. He grabbed a glass and poured cold water into it. Rias looked at the clock hanging. Let's go back to bed, it's getting late. Issei just nodded his head, then something peculiar caught his eyes. What happened to your nightgown? He asked, coming closer to inspect the tear on the edge and checked if she's hurt anywhere. Rias took a step back and looked away from the serious gaze he's giving. While I was going down here it got stuck somewhere and I couldn't see clearly since it was dark, so I pulled and the next thing I knew, there's a rip, she explained pretty quickly. Oh, be careful next time, okay? She nodded and pulled him back to his room. Issei placed a hand on his mouth to catch a yawn escaping and shrugged the remaining thoughts of the whole ordeal about Ria's clothes and the way she's acting. He should have taken that as clue number one. Something Issei could not fathom nor explain as being a nuisance, inflicting him pain whenever. There were times that he will suddenly feel tired, dizzy or his head hurts. Greg then told him to investigate as soon as possible. Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. Who could argue with that logic? He shrugged his shoulders and rubbed his hand on his stomach, feeling it growling in hunger. He's sure that Rias will know if any of the members in her peerage skip class and does not tolerate such act. The thought of having a punishment didn't cross his mind anymore. Images of food flooded his thoughts while slightly drooling. After a few minutes of thinking, he excused himself from class, saying that he needed to go to the restroom, but went to the cafeteria instead. All other rational thoughts were thrown out the window just to satisfy his need for food. He ate whatever's on the menu before thinking of what to do after. Going back to class would be a waste. So he did the best thing that came to mind, sleep. Just as he was about to turn a corner, he saw crimson hair. Oh no, he was about to make a run for it, but was too late to do so. What are you doing here, Issei? Don't you have classes? I excused myself and went to the restroom. Rias studied his facial expression while her hands are on her hips. You're lying, she said. Her intense gaze scared him into telling the truth. You got me, but you please don't punish me. I won't do it again, he pleaded, doing a deep bow. Rias sighed. And where were you going before I interrupted? Going to sleep. She gave him a questioning look, and now is his turn to be confused by this. Rias he knows would know where he usually goes whenever he wants to sleep or be alone, so it was a complete shock when she's looking at him like he's a foreigner. He was about to say something when the bell rang, signaling the start of lunch. I have to go. She quickly turned around and started to walk away. Wait, Issei grabbed her by the hand, her soft skin felt a little cold and it doesn't have its usual warmth. Rias, are you okay? You haven't been the same and you have grown distant from not only me but also to the others. If there's a problem, you know you can come to us, right? You don't have to keep your nose in my business and if it doesn't involve you, it shouldn't concern you. Giving him a cold look before she snatched her hand back and left him staring dumbfounded. What did you do to me? Issei looked down on his shaking hands covered in his blood. What do you mean, love? Rias came closer to him and cupped his face in her hands. He tore himself from her, his mind swirling with thoughts. Both were alone in his room. Issei had decided to finally confront her when he suddenly felt weak again and began coughing blood. And what makes you think I'm behind this? I would never hurt you because I care for you so much. She inwardly smirked as Issei glared at her. His powers suddenly spiked uncontrollably, the others felt it and rushed to his room. Issei Kunbuchu Kiba was the first one to burst into the room. His face contorted to a worried one when he realized that his best friend is hurt and rushed towards his side and supported him. Soon the rest of Rias' peerage members came. She's not Rias, Issei said, eyes alternately changing to his dragons. What? How can you say that? Akeno asked. It's true that their president has been acting weird, but they thought it was just the stress and family matters affecting her. You're not Rias, and you never will be, he snarled in a deep growl. Calm down, Issei-san. Asia and Zenobia held him by the arm, stopping him before he does something he'll regret. The Rias I know would never hurt anyone in her peerage, because she treats everyone as family. Issei then told everyone what happened to Asia this morning when Rias got angry and hurt her. He turned to Asia and signaled for her to pull her right sleeve, showing everyone in the room a hideous purple-black bruise around her wrist. He talked to the blonde about it and wanted to confront their president, but she pleaded to leave the matter alone. Rias began to clap in a slow manner, making them turn to her with an incredulous look. I'm surprised you knew, I'm impressed. How can I not? You were acting weird, you don't have any scent, and your body feels cold, as if you're dead. But I'm afraid you're too late. What do you mean I'm late? The real Rias Gregory is far away from here, alone and suffering. Where is she? Issei's boosted gear appeared, its green jewels glowing. Same with his eyes. The others also preparing to attack. She's with Loki-sama. Before Issei can ask any further, there was a seal embedded on her skin glowing brightly right on her left pectoral. The impostor's body went limp and fell on the floor. While what happened to her, Gasper came out behind Roswas. It seems like she killed herself. Zenobia said after she checked the pulse and got nothing. It begins to disintegrate in a rapid pace, breaking into small parts, then vanishes. At least you guys don't have to bury a corpse. Drake said. Well, aren't you happy for us? Issei sarcastically replied. Rias' peerage went to the underworld as soon as possible and reported to Surziches of what happened. He was clearly not happy that his beloved Hyoudou was taken by Loki, a Norse god. Surziches-sama, I would like to deeply apologize for my negligence. Issei bowed, eyes closed while he clenched his fist. I understand your position and the current situation. You have every right to get angry at me. I would gladly accept any punishment after we have saved Rias-sama. The others followed suit, also bowing and asking for forgiveness, saying their part to blame for not noticing sooner. We are part of Rias Gregory-sama's household. We are prepared to give up everything for our master. Akeno said. Surziches calmly looked at each and every one of them and asked to raise their heads. I am indeed upset of what had transpired over the last few days, but now is not the right time for this, and we would need to send a group to face Loki until Mjolnir arrives. To defeat Loki, Odin has returned to Northern Europe to retrieve Mjolnir. The Norse god son Fenrir and an imitation of one of the 5 Dragon King is with him that time while traveling to attack them as revenge for Odin's alliance. According to Ajuka Beelzebub, he managed to keep Loki at bay, temporarily stopping the god in his tracks. We cannot afford to send Satan-class combatants from the different factions to battle. There's a chance that another large-scale war will break out. Azazel supplied from across the room. Then it will be the coming of what Loki calls Ragnarok. Archangel Michael said, motioning for his bodyguard to come forward. The bodyguard removed their hood, showing Zenovia's previous partner named Irina Shidou. She will surely prove to be a valuable asset. Irina beamed in response and slightly bowed, showing them her angel wings and halo. 3 members from the Citri family also wished to volunteer at the mention of it. Serafol of Ithans Amato came inside the room with her vice president and secretary. We now have 4 people going, I can only send about 10 people at a time to Loki. Surzich's turned to the Hyoudou Issei and the rest talked about this already, resulting to him, Akeno, Kiba, Roswis, Zenobia and Kaneko going. As soon as they're all ready to embark on this difficult mission, all of the participants teleported across the land. They found themselves in a barren wasteland, a place where nothing grew and there was no life to be seen anywhere. I knew that bastard Beelzebub will soon send weaklings here. Loki said in all his glory while his son stands by with one fake dragon king. Issei immediately searched for Rias with his eyes, but found nothing. Loki-sama, the god moved his attention to the Valkyrie. Baring your fangs at our great father is unforgivable. Ah, you're the Valkyrie that previously served Odin. I heard you're extremely talented, but your power is inferior to a god's. If you were against with Odin-sama's alliance, why didn't you voice your opinions through proper channels? Oh, I did. His gaze went to Issei for a moment, then returned to Roswis, but that old man didn't listen. Out of nowhere, Fenrir's children, Hadi and Skoll appeared and howls loudly. You will regret challenging a god. Loki signaled for Fenrir and his children to surround them, except for the fake dragon king, curled near him menacingly like it's guarding something. Welsh dragon balance breaker Issei transformed. Just before everything was about to go down, the Hyoudou came. 2 of the heavenly dragons, what fate this is. Vali looked at Issei. Just so you know I'm not here to help. This is not the time to be at Sundeer, Vali. Their childish squabble annoyed the god and makes the first move, bombarding them with his magic. Both heavenly dragons takes cover, then retaliates as soon as they have recovered their footing. For being rivals they sure do move together like it's natural. I have no time for the 2 of you. Loki calls for his son. With Fenrir's abrupt appearance, Vali was caught off guard as the claws got to him before he can evade it. His scale mail breaks and blood seeps out from his wound. Vali Kuroka makes herself known, rushing to the Hyoudou to tend to his wounds. I'm fine, he stood up and uses the power of Albion's ice to cover the gash. Just stick to the plan. He said, then joins Issei against Loki once more. Kuroka nodded her head and went back to where Arthur Pendragon is, awaiting orders. Before Vali returned to Issei's side, who's faring better than what the god initially thought. I have no time for you imbeciles. Loki raises his hand in the air, strong winds accompanied by spears of ice, and light magic began to rain down on them. Planning to release his divine powers and rupture the space and speed up the coming of Ragnarok, everyone tries to take cover while some were inevitably affected. Zenobia, Kaneko and Saji were shot down. Fortunately for them, Loki's display of power halts. I will give you all the honor of being the first to be slaughtered in Ragnarok. While the others were distracted with tending to the injured, Loki resumes his unfinished business with the beauty in his possession. Then Vali's team decided to strike now. The magic chains of Gleipnir wraps around the defiant figure of Fenrir. They left as soon as they got what they were after, with Vali leaving everything to his rival. Be strong, my rival. Issei dodges an incoming attack of the Dragon King, then someone caught the entirety of his attention. Rias, he yells, his eyes widen and whole body freezing. The others turn to where he's looking and saw Rias on the ground just under where Loki is floating and performing some kind of ritual. The large black magic circle on top of her nightgown torn and her skin pale with burn marks littered all over her body. For an impudent, her demonic power is great beyond my expectations. It will surely serve useful for the coming of Ragnarok. No, 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 he's extracting Ria's power of destruction. If this continues, she might die. Sona panics, her eyes repetitively darting to Loki, then back to her rival. They're all starting to feel hopeless. The Mjolnir hasn't arrived, and they still have the Dragon King, one of the grandson, to fight, and Loki himself. Negative energy starts to spread around Issei's still form, his armor long gone. To him, it felt like he's having the same treatment as his president, like a part of him is being taken. The emotions you have will be your downfall, Hyoudou. Sona tells them to divide and deal with the remaining foes till Issei regains control over himself. Issei San Kiba and Roswis rushes towards him. Get a hold of yourself. The blonde knight places his hands on his shoulders and shakes him. If we don't stop Loki-sama now, Rias-sama might really die at this rate. Issei tried to overcome the overwhelming sensation that had set into his heart. I understand, he said, taking multiple deep breaths. Not far from their location, the infinite dragon god appeared with her hand held out. Taking her a short moment to have the curse of Issei and Rias for her amusement. Loki have sensed the disturbance and curses when he felt Office get in his way and just realized that his son disappeared along with the vanishing dragon. Issei felt the pain disappear, but he didn't have time to dwell on it when Ria's life is still in grave danger. But before he can even attempt to strike, Loki have this cocky smirk plastered on his face, throwing the crimson-haired moving pale body to Issei's direction. Issei immediately catches her. Rias. There was no phoenix tears left, and everyone's devastated to see Rias so lifeless. And no way. But you has there's no way. That she can't die. Everyone's in denial of Ria's situation, it was too sickening to believe, crying out in anger and frustration. Ragnarok will begin soon, perish in the twilight of the end. Issei's in the worst state of them all, his tears falling uncontrollably with his powers coming out of him in deathly waves. Rias, you can't die, pressing his ear to her chest. Wake up please, I need you. Ria's heartbeat gradually slowing down every passing minute. She'll die soon enough. Loki laughs, not noticing the change in the Red Dragon Emperor's attitude. Issei removes his blazer to cover Ria's body and gently laying her down on the ground. I don't care if you're a god, go ahead and bring on your Ragnarok. Even if the last drop of my blood vaporizes, even if I have to turn this world upside down, I'll make sure you regret everything. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.